Welcome to your weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 29th of July. I'm going to share with you shortly the event chart right at the start of the week, which provides some important pointers for us all to collectively relate to. But please stay with me. I then will go through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces inclusive, which you can relate to in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. It's lovely to have your company. If you're new here, if you have any thoughts, please do share them. This is very much a community. If you're a returning visitor, all your views and interactions are truly appreciated. As I've shared, about 50% of the people who enjoy my videos recently are not subscribers. If that's you, please help the channel to grow and click that subscription button and also the bell notification symbol. If you'd like to reach out and have a one-to-one with me, please see the link below where you can read my testimonials. I don't edit these and I share them as is. Also, if you'd like to get your free written daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, please click on the subscription link below. I provide the overarching astrology influence for each day, and that helps us to see the big picture as well as enjoy our zodiac sign. If you're a Patreon, thank you so much for your support. I'm always uploading extra information, and you can become one from $3 a month. It's that time of the year when I've launched my annual very special offer. If you'd like to get your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, I'll give you the rest of this year free, 30% off, and you'll also get your life roadmap report. This combination is fantastic value and will give you searing insights. If you know your tropical astrology, you can get it from a draconic viewpoint based on your soul or karmic passage. And if you're someone who relates to astrology through whole sign astrology, or you don't know your time, there's also options for both of those. Again, please see the link below. So on the screen now, I'm sharing the event chart. Now, the happy news, of course, is the sun continues its journey in the sign of Leo, which it rules. But it's supercharged this week by the energy of both Jupiter and also Mars. Now, the link with Mars really peaked at the end of last week, but they're still going to be supporting one another, and it means therefore that we've got Mars moving closer, if not exactly aligned to Jupiter. That occurs in the middle of August, but that combination in general is pushing us to enjoy interacting. And because the sign of Leo can be very sociable, very much to do with showcasing our talents and enjoying the pleasurable side of life, what's not to like? Well, it's just that as last week came to a close, there was a quarter moon in the sign of Taurus on Sunday. Quarter moon energy provides a backdrop for 1 week. The sign of Taurus is where the moon is exalted, so it's a good place in a way for the moon to be, but the square with the sun suggests that anything that we find rather tempting, whether it's calorific goodies, whether it's being a bit more spontaneous with our resources, a touch of luxury, or perhaps buying a gift for someone that we're strongly attracted towards, those energies can be quite strong this week. But concurrent to that, we do have a square between Venus, the ruler of Taurus, and also Uranus, which is located in the sign, and that peaks on Friday. So the bubbliness of the sun linking with Mars and Jupiter can see us want to enjoy the best parts of life, but there could be a lot more impulse, and that could see us releasing the purse strings and being a bit freer and easier with our resources. Now, obviously, it depends on our unique situations in terms of affordability, but the other thing that helps to guide us this week, and it becomes exact on Thursday, is the link between the sun and the North Node, or the point of destiny, which continues its journey through the sign of Aries. Aries, along with Chiron being in retrograde, is very much to do with defining our identity. If we think about Mars, the planet which is very much to do with our personalities in a way, because it rules the ascendant, if we think that's linking well to the Sun this week, there is a great opportunity to follow our instincts in what helps us to define who we are as individuals. But that also means, with the Sun's energy in Leo, having the confidence to manifest whatever calls out to us. So what's not to like? Well, it's just that we do have two quincunxes this week. Mercury, the planet of communication, back home in the sign of Virgo, in a great in right angle to Mars initially, but is also forging a quincunx to Pluto in the people sign of Aquarius. So the details of situations are going to be important in terms of our future plans, which is very much to do with that Pluto energy. And the quincunx between Venus in Leo and Neptune in Pisces just encourages us not to be too idealistic, particularly about relationships, because the square between Venus and Uranus is pushing us to really try to understand the reality of a relationship. And sometimes that means that we have to have some very frank discussions. And I feel that this is a week when we can have those discussions, but it's also important to understand that some of it could be because our values or what we want from situations are not quite being met. So, for example, if a relationship isn't romantic enough or it isn't realistic enough, those are the kind of themes that could play out this week. But in general, this is a week very much to manifest our talents, enjoy ourselves, get together, mix and mingle, and have some social moments. It's just that energy of Mercury in Virgo is just asking us to just be mindful of the detail of situations and making sure that we keep one foot on terra firma. And as the week reaches its climax on the 4th, Sunday, we have the fabulous Leo new moon. It could be argued that the Leo new moon is the most influential of the whole year because the Sun rules the sign of Leo, but it links back to Mars, the passionate Mars, but also the exuberant Jupiter in that quick moving sign of Gemini. So if there is something you want to manifest over the next month that's creative, that's passionate, that's fun, that's demonstrative, or it's a relationship or a social situation you want to bring to life, it's a glorious opportunity to go for it. Please do check out my deep dive new moon special, which will be released before long. Please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces. Welcome Aries to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data, and in my special package I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. Now, as this week begins, your ruler Mars is very much in the mix. It peaked towards the end of last week in a sextile to the Sun, but they're still in touch this week within 3 degrees, and also Jupiter, like Mars, in the chatty Gemini, is angling brilliantly to the Sun as well. So your communications are going to be a big part of this week. Also, the point of destiny, the North Node in your sign, is forging a terrific link with the Sun. So this is really urging you to listen to your instincts and then take action, because Gemini can be a very physical moving sign with Mars there. Maybe you are actually going to want to be more active. Step up your fitness regime, do more dancing. The energy in Leo can be very playful, but it also can give you opportunities to think about your romantic situation, because Venus continues there, but it is in a clash with Uranus. If you're tempted to make a grand gesture this week around someone you're drawn to, or even be very, very generous to someone you're close to, who may even ask for some financial assistance, I wouldn't be too quick to actually provide that assistance. It's not because I'm encouraging you to be mean, but it's possible that that person has asked you before, and therefore if you do it again, you're reinforcing a pattern of dependence on that person. Remember, Uranus is about freedom, and the second house where Uranus is located is very much about you getting as realistic as possible, as authentic as possible in terms of marshalling your resources. But what you could do this week is have a desire to splash out on something. Give yourself some kind of treat, and if you can afford it, why not? It's just your ruler Mars does square off to Mercury right at the start of this week, so you could find that some practical issues are a bit of a stressful dimension, but if you can clear out any essential tasks or obligations, that frees you up to have what could be a very enjoyable week indeed. It's as the week reaches its conclusion, so we have the new moon in your sister fire sign of Leo, but linking back to the vibrant energy of your ruler Mars. Do believe that what you have to say has true value. The purpose that this particular and very influential new moon can give you is quite significant. This is a unique time with Jupiter in your third house combining with Mars, and so the link through to the energy of the new moon where the sun and the moon are unified together really is a great chance for you to showcase all that's really important to you over the next 4 weeks. I hope you have a great week, Aries. Take care, all the best, and goodbye. Welcome, Taurus, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data, and in my special package I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. This week sees a link between the Sun in the part of your situation to do with security, stability, home and family, and the bountiful Jupiter. When the Sun and Jupiter are in a sextile, we can have strokes of fortune. You've also got Mars along with Jupiter in your second house, but that can give you more desire to consume and enjoy the good things in life. If you play host this week, you could do this completely spontaneously and suddenly decide to invite some people around and really can enjoy spoiling them rotten. But as last week came to a close, there was a quarter moon in your sign. When the moon's in our first house, it can make us much more singular in our approach, whereas the fourth house is much more risk averse. If there is something that you're tempted to do, you will need to think it through carefully, particularly as Venus does square up, your ruler, with Uranus in your sign, which could make you a bit more rebellious and in the mood to do something that might actually be counterintuitive. What can help you is the Sun's link to the point of destiny on Thursday, the North Node, can help you to tune into your inner voice to make exactly the right decision for you. And just know, right at the start of the week, Mercury in the fifth house, which is great for you in your sister Earth sign of Virgo, it is now in its pre-retrograde shadow, and it does clash with Mars. So if there is something you're tempted to splash out on and buy on an impulse, you might just want to wait until later in the week before making a final decision about that. There's also a mystical link this week between Venus, your ruler, and Neptune. Venus has come into the end of its journey in the sign of Leo, and to be honest, on the 5th of August, when it moves into Virgo, that's brilliant for you. But if there is someone that you're really drawn to, and it could be someone who's introduced by someone you're very close, in your family, extended group, or perhaps even through your work, just wait a little while to really get to know that person. So essentially this is a time to think very much about how you can build up a sense of stability and security, something that's always important to you, but that is going to compete this week with another part of you that may want to make a quick decision, to have a little bit of excitement in your situation, but that might not necessarily see you make the best decision. So just wait until Thursday, and that will help if you listen to your inner voice to make exactly the right choice. So Taurus, if you do want to bring everything together, all the threads you've been working on recently, in terms of the changes you've been making around where you've been living or how you're living there, or having those people around to your home, the new moon as the week reaches its end certainly gives you a tremendous amount of support to really manifest what will make you feel so much more secure, supported and nurtured. It's been a pleasure being with you, Taurus. Have a great week. Take care and goodbye. Welcome, Gemini, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data. And in my special package, I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. There's a glorious alliance this week between the Sun and Jupiter. Jupiter in your sign for the next year is very much about reinforcing your sense of confidence, giving you the belief that something creative that you're invested in can grow and can become stronger. And conversations you have around that can actually be very positive. Also, Mars in your sign is strengthening your physical vitality, and that's still in touch in a positive way with the Sun. What's not to like? Well, it's just that when last week came to a close, there was a quarter moon on Sunday, and that provides a backdrop of energy for the following week. And it was a very sensitive quarter moon. Also on Monday and Tuesday, your ruler Mercury is in a tense right angle with Mars. It could be that if something isn't flowing quite as quickly as you would like, you could become really quite frustrated. And it may be that you're sensing that someone's not being completely open with you. And you know, you could be exactly right. But as Uranus in your 12th house links with Venus, the planet of relating, in a tense right angle as this week goes on, if there is something that's not being said openly that does need to be released, then I feel it can happen at that point. Also, the point of destiny, the North Node, forges a fabulous link to the Sun. And if you do discover that someone hasn't necessarily got your back, isn't quite as reliable as you would like, has let slip something confidential that you've shared with them, I feel you are going to get back on course as this week draws to a close. But the important thing is to focus on the things that you feel you can directly influence. But there could be some background energy that just undermines you. Maybe it's some vague anxieties, or not just being completely sure of someone's intent, but continue to focus on what you can influence, and that's the best way to make the most of this week. So Gemini, as the week comes to a conclusion, the cosmic curtain comes down with the glorious combination of Mars and Jupiter in your sign, linking through to the new moon in Leo. So have real conviction about what's important to you. Your physical vitality can be really strengthened by this. And I feel that there's going to be a truly important connection or discussion or even agreement that's going to manifest itself over the next 4 weeks for you. Have a great week, Gemini. All the best and goodbye. Welcome, Cancer, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data. And in my special package, I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. You have a gift for marshalling resources very shrewdly, but sometimes we can have strokes of fortune too. And the planet of good luck, Jupiter, links brilliantly to the Sun in the part of your situation to do with everyday money this week. But it's also possible that something you've been doing over a long period of time, maybe refining a skill, your experiences have developed, perhaps some investments that you've been marshalling shrewdly, can all come back to you in a very constructive way this week. But there is a bit of a counter influence. There's another part of your situation that could see you tempted to do something a bit more daring and different, particularly with your future financial planning. It may be linked to a group or the encouragement of a friend. But just be aware that Mercury, the planet of communication, is in its pre-retrograde shadow, and all of us need to be very precise in the way that we consume information. Also, Mercury is in a square with Mars right at the start of this week. Someone could say something in quite a jarring way that you're not expecting, but don't let them push or prod you into doing something against your will. Your safety first attitude most of the time is really very important to your sense of well-being, but sometimes it is important to have a treat too. So if you decide to do that and it fits your budget, why not? But if someone does talk about some kind of get-rich scheme or side hustle which seems a little bit too good to be true, then perhaps it really is Cancer. So Cancer, that energy in Leo comes up to a crescendo at the end of the week with the new moon. But as I've been mentioning, it's what you've done in the past which is so important. So don't underestimate that hard work, that experience, that application. But your financial situation can take a turn for the better over the next 4 weeks as the new moon brings this week to a close. Have a great week. Thanks for joining me, and goodbye. Welcome Leo to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data, and in my special package I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. You have a great opportunity to blend your individualism and drive and leadership skills with how you connect to others. And there could be some really important alliances building up for you this week, not least with Jupiter, the planet of opportunity, in the part of your situation to do with networks, friendships and socializing. But the point of destiny, the North Node, also comes into an exact trine with the Sun on Thursday. And that's suggesting if there's something changing in your world, to be guided by your instincts. But Venus in your sign is going to be clashing with Uranus this week. And if there is something that you feel very invested in that's a bit different, more creative, it's possible that you may encounter someone who doesn't quite get what you're trying to achieve. But don't be put off, because there are going to be other people who really do recognise the qualities of your idea, but also the qualities that you bring to the situation as an individual. Just be aware right at the start of this week, Leo, that the clash between Mercury and Mars is quite abrasive. Mercury, now in its pre-retrograde shadow, suggests over the next few weeks that it will be important to micromanage any kind of financial transactions. And the square with Uranus suggests you may encounter someone who sees something very differently to you. But the big picture this week is one which gives you an opportunity to showcase your talent, be very dynamic in your approach, and most of all, have a lot of energy to guide you. Just be conscious that the quarter moon, which occurred at the end of last week, suggests you will have to juggle in certain situations what you want to do as an individual with what other people expect of you. But if you're a natural bohemian, this is a week which can see you make huge progress. If you're someone who's quite happy to work collaboratively with others, that also is an area that you can thrive. If you're someone who wants to be much more individualistic, but you need to fit into a big organisation, that's the area that could be a little more challenging. But what this week can do, therefore, is help you to understand more about where you could apply your skills, or who the people are that you can enjoy being with. So Leo, as the week comes to a close, there's so much drama as the new moon crystallizes in your sign. This is a very important new moon because your sun rules the sign of Leo. So it brings a lot of radiance and warmth and potential on its own. But this year, greatly supported by the two planets which are the rulers of your third and second decans in the guise of Mars and Jupiter, that brings an extra oomph. So whatever it is that's really important to you as an individual, it may be a fresh start, it may be rejuvenating a strand that's gone on with greater conviction and enthusiasm, or it could be a connection with someone in terms of your social world. Something really positive is definitely cooking up as this week comes to a close. It's been a pleasure being with you, Leo. Have a great week, and goodbye for now. Welcome, Virgo, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data. And in my special package, I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. That paradox that I told you about last week in terms of Mars and Jupiter right at the top of your situation, encouraging you to raise the bar and go for the goals and ambitions that are important to you, just to the point when the Sun and Venus are more sheltered, is still going to be apparent this week. But you do have Mercury back in your sign, your ruler, but that is in its pre-retrograde shadow, and it does clash with Mars right at the start of this week. If you encounter a petty bureaucrat or a rather officious line manager, or you're working in a big organisation which is quite unbending, your sense of frustration can be quite profound. That's because as last week came to a close, the quarter moon in your 9th house is amplified by the sensitivity of the Sun in the 12th. So if there is something that you're finding difficult, it can take on a life force of its own. But as this week goes on, Jupiter, the planet of growth, does forge a very positive link with the Sun. Don't underestimate what you're doing behind the scenes, the planning, the research, the linking up, taking soundings, perhaps even having some confidential discussions. By the time we get to the Leo new moon on Sunday, that's an opportunity as that connects to Jupiter to think about how you can use those past talents in a new and fresh way. Once Venus, the planet of charm and relating, moves into your sign next Monday, it will become clearer exactly how you can take your next steps. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Virgo. Have a great week and goodbye. Welcome, Libra, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data. And in my special package, I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. Your great gift is for relating. The Sun's in the part of your situation, along with your ruler, that's very much about friendships, your group situations, your network. And Jupiter, the planet of hope, links up with the sun in a really dynamic way. If there are people that you're really enjoying being with at the moment, those relationships can go from strength to strength. Mars is still in touch with the sun as well, suggesting your physical vitality can be increased by that. And yet, ironically, and in contrast, Mercury, the planet of communication, has moved into a much more reflective area and entered its pre-retrograde shadow. And that clashes with Mars right at the start of this week. And also the quarter moon, which brought last week to a close, suggests that there are other people who are in some ways inhibiting your style and not quite fitting what you're wanting to do at the moment. There could be some tension building, and that comes with the clash between your ruler Venus and Uranus. So when that occurs, which is exact on Friday, that could give you the desire to break free of something that you have been involved with in the past, but move towards the things that are exciting you in the present. And that brings us to the new moon, which occurs right at the end of this week. But also on Thursday this week, the sun forges a pivotal alliance with the point of destiny, the North Node, on Thursday. So if there is that one single friend, person, business alliance, or romantic partner that you're really feeling connected to, that can really bond you in. But I just feel if something has become a little bit possessive or controlling or jealous, you may want to break free and spend time with some new, more vibrant people. Have a great week, Libra. All the best and goodbye. Welcome, Scorpio, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data, and in my special package I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. Ambitions are very much to the fore this week. Now, your ambitions may not be of a professional nature. They may be more to do with a hobby, some kind of activities in your local community, or even what you do with your grandchildren in terms of spending time with them and enjoying their activities and pursuits. Everyone has different goals, but if you really want to put your mind to something this week, with the sun in a very elevated position and then linking with Jupiter, the planet of growth, as we get to the end of the week in terms of universal time and we have a new moon, this gives you an opportunity to really set your stall out, gain greater recognition and draw people to what you have to offer. The only catch really, Scorpio, is if you are someone who has a very set way of approaching things. This week could hit some kind of snag if you're required to flex and you find that difficult to do. Even around a relationship, as Uranus squares up to Venus, it's going to be important to give and take a little bit. If you can go with the flow and be very open to being a bit more flexible, there is a really excellent opportunity to make progress. And your traditional ruler, although it clashes with Mercury earlier in the week, it stays in touch with the sun in a very positive way. So even if you're trying to rejig your resources, trying to remortgage, find ways to squeeze more out of your budget, your drive and determination and willpower to work your way towards your goal is going to be manifest. And that can reach a high point on Thursday when the sun forges an exact alliance to the North Node in a very dynamic way. So a mixture of being very attentive to the details, but also seeing the big picture and being confident enough to talk to the people in the know, or perhaps decision makers in a current organisation or a potential organisation. That's where you can really shine brightly. But just be aware it might not be quite or turn out quite how you expect. Have a great week, Scorpio. All the best and goodbye. Welcome, Sagittarius, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data, and in my special package I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. If you have been thinking about booking that holiday, going on a course, doing something a little bit more varied, shaking things up a little bit, this is certainly the week to go for it. But you may not want to do it completely alone. The combination of Mars and your ruler Jupiter in your sector of relating, linking very dynamically to the Sun, suggests that there are some partnerships or associations that are really mutually beneficial. That can be a great way to bring extra vibrancy to your situation. But you could also find yourself feeling a bit more resistant about the chores and expectations someone else has for you, which inhibit that part of your personality which loves to be freer and more independent. And that comes from the quarter moon, which occurred right at the end of the last week in your 6th house, just at a time when you do need to embrace some variety. Now you're going to have a great opportunity to charge up that part of you that can be very passionate and enthusiastic and exuberant with the new moon, which occurs right at the end of this week. But what I will say is the position of Venus in your 9th house is giving you a real desire for the truth of your associations, and the clash between that and Uranus suggests that if a relationship has become very predictable and dull, there may be a temptation to try to be quite provocative just to create a spark in order to create some energy and some drama. But also it could see you want to escape something that has become too dreary, too samey, and perhaps too caught up in routines. Now, of course, part of the reason that you have become much more mindful of the emotional part of your situation is the role of Saturn over the last 16 months or so. But this is a week when you can get back on top form, I feel, Sagittarius. But there could be some scrapes along the way, not least that Mercury, the planet of communication, is moved into a part of your chart to do with connections to work and positions of and people in positions of influence. And if you are in an organisation at the moment where you feel a bit taken for granted and expected just to follow exactly the structure they expect, that too could be something that you find more challenging. So try to bring some variety into your world this week. Do something different. If you've yet to book that holiday or vacation, this is certainly a fine week to do it. Have a great week, Sagittarius. All the best. And goodbye. Welcome, Capricorn, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data, and in my special package I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. Now, last week's move of Mercury into your sister Earth sign of Virgo was, on the face of it, a very positive thing because it rules this sign, and for you it's house 9, which is brilliant for gaining knowledge, but it can also be brilliant for booking things, particularly travel. But Mercury is in its pre-retrograde shadow, so there can be some snags, and it actually is in a tense right angle with Mars right at the start of this week. That can leave you feeling a little bit on edge. If you're on edge around a romantic situation, it may be because you feel that someone's not as invested and doesn't care as much as you would really like. And that's because Venus is squaring up to Uranus. What you need to feel or see is an obvious manifestation of someone's interest in you. But if a tie or a business relationship is going well, the sun's linked to Jupiter and the new moon, which comes right at the end of this week, universal. That's giving you an opportunity to reap the rewards of a lot of hard work and investment and application over a long period of time. So it just depends on your unique situation this week. Whatever you're doing, whether it's business-wise, financially, in terms of relationships, if where you're in, you feel that someone you're collaborating with is all in too, then even if it's not quite perfect, that will really feel sweet. If you're in a situation where you're giving it everything and you feel that someone else isn't, there could be part of you that actually wants to liberate yourself. And that's where Mercury being in your ninth house is going to be influential. Venus, the planet of relating, will move to join Mercury next Monday. And as they come into an exact conjunction midway through next week, the week following this one, you will get the outcome of something that you're working on this week where you don't feel quite as valued or heard as you'd like. Have a great week, Capricorn. All the best and goodbye. Welcome, Aquarius, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data, and in my special package I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. The Sun and Venus start this week in your sector of relating. In the Sun's case, it's forging still a very dynamic link to Mars, and as the week goes on, a growing, very positive angle to Jupiter. Now, Mars and Jupiter are in the part of your situation which is very much to do with dazzling people with your charisma. So the link to the Sun in where you actually connect to people can be very positive indeed. But as last week came to a close, there was a quarter moon in the much more tender part of your scope, the fourth house. And if there is a relationship where you don't feel heard or you don't feel seen, or the emotional dimension of the connection isn't very strong, you can become much more conscious of that this week. Now, if that is in an existing romantic tie, as Uranus, your modern ruler, clashes with Venus later this week, this could lead to some kind of outpouring of intense honesty. Maybe you do need to say exactly how you feel if it's not going exactly as you want. But you know, if there is someone you're attracted to, the link between Venus and Uranus could give you the push to be a bit more daring to actually tell them how you feel. So, as often is the case with astrology, it's not one-dimensional how the influences work. In fact, the angle between the Sun and the point of destiny, the North Node on Thursday, makes it the perfect time to express how you feel, whether it is in a business situation or it is in a personal one. But as the week draws to a close, we are seeing the new moon in Leo, linking with Jupiter, very, very positive. Either way, Aquarius, your relationships are going to be a big theme of this week. If you are building some new alliances which seem exciting and positive, the chances are they can go from strength to strength. I feel it's just in an existing tie, maybe not even romantically, just with friends. If you feel things have just become very scattered, someone's not really tuned in to how you're feeling, doesn't really seem that bothered, that could give you the desire to actually break free and to connect with new, vibrant relationships that do make you feel heard and seen. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Have a great week. And goodbye for now. Welcome, Pisces, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 29th of July for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'd just like to tell you about my very special annual offer. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope based on your unique birth data, and in my special package I'll give you the rest of this year free, but also you'll get your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you so much to work through, and it is fantastic value. The Sun in Leo is in a very practical part of your situation, but brilliant for revitalizing your approach to everyday structures, but anything to do with your physical well-being, your diet, and your exercise routines. Jupiter in your fourth house, very much to do with how you feel about things and your home and family life. The link between Jupiter and the Sun could see you making your home that much smoother in terms of the way it operates, perhaps moving furniture around, decluttering, creating that oasis that really works both efficiently but gives you that sense of peace and tranquility. But Mars, like Jupiter in your fourth house, does forge a bit of an irritable clash to Mercury at the very start of this week. Mercury is now in the part of your situation to do with relating, but it is in its pre-retrograde shadow. You could feel a bit impatient with someone if you don't hear back from them quite as quickly as you would like at the start of this week. And also another thing that can happen this week is that you could try and be too efficient and too virtuous because of the moon's clash with the Sun, which occurred at the end of last week, the quarter moon, but does provide a backdrop of energy for the whole of this week. So there is the potential for a little bit of tension. Also, Uranus in your third house, very electric energy, is clashing with Venus in your sixth house. This could see you want to get the latest gadget or device in order to improve your domestic efficiency, but I wouldn't rush on that. It could be that you end up splashing out on something that you don't really use that much. In a romantic situation, if you do live with a partner, you're going to want to feel that there's a fair share of the domestic chores, whether it is childcare, whether it is walking the dog, doing the shopping, doing some preparation of food and doing the domestic chores. If that's the case, then that's brilliant. That brings us to the new moon, which manifests towards the end of this week. Now that sixth house energy, if you're really wanting to find a new position, a job which gives you a real sense of satisfaction, is blessed by Jupiter this year. So there can be some good fortune that's heading your way. But I think it's the link between the Sun and the point of destiny, the North Node on Thursday, which is really going to help you greatly. That could be a time when some good financial news comes in, but particularly if you're in the mood to refine some of your expenditure and find some economies. So in a way it is a practical week for you, Pisces, but it's a week that's shaping up, certainly making its way more towards a relating part of the year, but that will become much more obvious to you next week when I tell you all about Venus joining your seventh house. Have a great week. Take care and goodbye.